Hello, and welcome to another edition of Coffee Talk with immigration attorney Brian D. Lerner. In this particular episode, I'd like to talk about H-1B's. Now, as many of you know, the H-1B's are essentially for people who have college degrees, and they are specialty occupation work visas, and they are essentially given so many per year. There's basically 65,000 that are for people who have undergraduate degrees, and then another 20,000 for people who have master's or higher degrees. And the fact is that there's some that are taken off the top for people from Chile and Singapore and so forth, but more or less, just basically think of it like this: there's 85,000 H-1Bs, of which 20,000 are for masters only. Now, the doors open each year in April, and in this year, the cap has just been reached, and it was reached 5 days after the filing of the H-1Bs open for this year. So that means that of all the H-1Bs allocated for the entire year, that within 5 days, all of them have been used up, and that for 360 days, there are no more H-1Bs, which are capped, subject to the cap. I mean, there are exceptions to H-1Bs that are not subject to the cap, but we're talking about all new, essentially, H-1Bs at places that are not for nonprofits. And the reality is that H-1Bs now are like a total lottery. Okay, there was probably 250,000 to 300,000 H-1Bs filed. There's probably over 200,000 that will get returned, and now when they get returned, those people will have to decide what to do. They may not be in status anymore. They may have to extend or change their status of whatever it currently is. They may have to leave the country in order to again obtain status by coming back. They may have to wait outside for a certain period of time. So essentially, anybody who filed an H-1B with the intention of actually getting it and with the intention of actually being able to go forward and change their status, which it wouldn't even change until next October anyways, there's going to be a serious problem. So minus the policy effects of not having enough H-1Bs, as we can see, even with how anti-immigrant Trump has been, and with everything he has done to dissuade anybody and everybody from coming into the U.S., there's still a very high demand for H-1Bs, and additionally, there's a very high demand for companies, especially tech companies, to get H-1Bs. What it does is it pulls talent from around the world, and there's lots of talent in the U.S., but there's also lots of talent outside the U.S., and it pulls very educated, very talented people from around the world to help their products. And so, while I know there's a push to try to get Congress to amend the law to allow more H-1Bs, in my opinion, that's never going to happen as long as Trump's in office. And we have to look for other alternatives other than H-1Bs. Some of those might be what's called the O-1s. O-1s can certainly be an alternative. There's no maximum amount. It is more difficult to get. You do need to have a few years of experience behind you before you can even think of an O-1. If you come from a country that has a treaty with the U.S., you can do an E-2 or an E-1. If you come from working at your own company or working at a company that can open a branch office in the U.S., you can get an L1. If you do have 1 or 2 years experience, you can get a company to petition you for the perm, for the green card. And depending what country you're from, there's a lot of countries around the world that do not have waiting lists on that. So it's not as perfect as actually being here right now on an H-1B, but it might be the next best thing. So there are options to the H-1Bs. Don't let this discourage you that because all the H-1Bs are used up within 5 days of the filing, that you're in the water without any paddle. So if you want a consultation on different options that would be available to you, give me a call, give my office a call, set up a consultation. I'll let you know what can be done, what the options are. Every case is different. And if you like the video, click like, click subscribe, and more on the coming videos. Thank you.